Thank you guys so much for coming on the show today to talk about Trillvo and what you guys have been up to. I greatly appreciate your time.
Of course. Thanks for
Yeah,
having us.
yeah.
We're
Thanks for
excited.
having us.
Absolutely. I was like, once I came on and talked to you guys for Trillvo on the live stream, I was like, all right, we got to reciprocate. We got to have you on and like learn more about you guys and all that stuff. So thank you, Victoria. Thank you, Andrew. And we were
Of
just talking
course.
about Andrew before you got on that we feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we're like getting there and we're almost there and we just have to like keep pushing and all that stuff. But how's everything been out in Texas? I mean, Texas and Florida,
Yeah.
preface the listeners, have been the outliers in this whole kind of fiasco. But how's it been over in Texas?
Texas is basically it's like brand new. It's like open
Yeah.
again. Like we're just enforcing masks. A lot of companies, a lot of businesses are still enforcing masks, which is great to see.
Yeah.
Shows are still enforcing masks if they're happening, like they do have security going around and telling people to wear your masks. And I mean, it's the light at the end of the tunnel. A lot of vaccination sites are opening up. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm pretty thrilled. I know me and Andrew both have our first doses, so
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. It's kind of the same way here. The FEMA sites started to pop up where we're able to get vaccinated. But also like if you call like your Publix or your CVS or your Walgreens and you're like, hey, you have any extra doses and you get them at the right time, they'll tell you to come in the following day or they'll tell you to come in before they close their doors and you're able to get them. That's how my mom got hers so early as well. And
I love that y'all can get it at a Publix.
yeah, dude, the Publixes have been on clutch. I said if I ever move out of like Florida, Publix is probably the only thing I'll miss, to be
Yeah.
completely honest, because
The
like
chicken sub and a
the
vaccine.
pub subs and then
Yeah.
you get your vaccines and it's like everywhere, it's like all in one. And they were the first ones like to have vaccines in our state besides like certain government sites. And so yeah, it's really nice and it's the same way here, even though certain videos, don't get me wrong, there are certain venues that do not give a flying fuck,
Oh
but
yeah,
most
totally. Yeah.
venues you may catch them at the wrong time. Don't get me wrong, it's really hard to control a lot of people, like just we're
Mhm.
all
I think it's
adults.
kind of
it, it
impossible.
it is to a certain extent, but most people, especially at like our venue and stuff here in Tampa, they will throw you out if you don't have your mask on. They're really really serious about it, and now it's really cool because when you look around, everyone has their mask on and it's a very simple understanding. And I had an emergency attending physician on my podcast about a month and a half ago, and he works in the ICU and he's been there this whole time, and he's like, man, if I can tell you just one thing, the mask fucking works. It works so well. And if you just do it, it'll be safer for us to live our lives and have things open than have everybody forced to stay inside. Because if people are inside, they're still going to go to their friend's house anyway. They're still going to be
Yeah.
inside partying anyways.
And it's such a
Definitely.
simple thing too, like just wear a fucking mask.
It's
Like,
baffling to me that like some adults, like I think my boyfriend and I saw our first anti-masker the other day in Nordstrom's rack, and she was all in there and she's like, I'm gonna call my attorney and I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and she's like yelling at this poor elderly woman working the door to make sure people have their masks on, and I'm like, this is a fucking disaster, bro.
yeah.
Yeah, that's like a big thing that I've been like seeing. Like it's just biting people in the butt essentially. Like you can't be so for it, or like for masks and like making sure nothing going on. Sorry, and making sure like nothing's going on, but then you're over here like buying your Last Lance tickets, or like you're here planning trips to go see other people. It's like it doesn't really work like that. You can't
I
have both.
Yeah, absolutely. There's such like a double-edged sword. And that's like the term that I see that keeps coming up, especially when talking about like Lost Lands is the perfect example. It's like God forbid another festival be thrown or announced or even thought of happening. And I get it. There's got to be someone to do it first, and they're going to take so much heat for it, like he is. Don't get me wrong. I can see both sides of the perspective. However, on the other hand, when Excision comes out and says Lost Lands is going to happen. We're going to make sure it's safe. We're selling tickets. And everyone who's trying to cancel all these people on these Disco Donnie lineups goes, oh my God, Lost Lands, let's go, let's go. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You're like, wait, I'm so confused.
It's
What?
okay if
Exactly.
Excision does it, and
Yeah.
that's in Ohio too. So I'm like, Ohio ain't even open like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's
It's just
funny.
it's super interesting, but I just feel like the more that we're going to be able to open, the better it's going to start to translate onto social media. Like, I feel like the toxicity will hopefully be alleviated because, like, let's be real, no one, industry or non-industry, would ever say any of the shit they're saying online to each other's faces, like, ever, you know? Like,
Cap. I totally
come
agree.
on.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't
all
know.
these bigger acts too. It's like they're mad at these small underground acts for taking shows that are like they're just trying to pay their rent and stuff, you know? Like
Everyone's just trying to pay
people are just trying
bills.
to like make a living. It's like but it's
Mhm.
like when you're a giant headliner, like yeah, you can take a year off and it mean nothing, but some people can't afford that luxury, you know?
Especially
Exactly.
the people here on visas. And that's the thing that I've tried to focus on this podcast the most, because don't get me wrong, I get it. There's a lot of United States citizens, artists who have been taking shows, including myself. Everyone has their own reason. Like, everybody can be respected, each their own. The reason why, I just rather somebody be booked who's gonna be on stage telling people to wear their fucking masks and do the right thing, instead of just having these crazy party boys and like no one's paying attention to X, Y, and
Yeah.
Z. Because whether I'm there or not, the show's still gonna happen. Somebody's gonna get booked, all of that shit. And I think the difference between legal and illegal shows are totally two different things. I understand like the morality of it, but when you're here on a visa, you legally cannot make money any other way than performing and being an artist. And you have to
Yeah.
take in a certain amount of income within a certain amount of time to be able to stay in the United States. That's what Josh from Mode Step and I talked about for like 2 hours on the podcast, because it's
Yeah.
such a big deal to these people. And like, they just, the average consumer just doesn't get it. And I understand, like, it's hard to put yourself in the shoes of someone who you could never be, but you have to have some sort of like compassion towards that in some state of mind, I don't know.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like you said, not a lot of people know the back end. They just think, oh, okay, here's an artist. I'm going to go see him. I'm going to go buy a ticket. But you don't know that they're on a visa. You don't know they're from a different country. You don't like really look into the artist past like going to a show. And that's what I think people need to start realizing, and showing more compassion towards these artists, and like actually reading in before they read what they read first on Twitter
Yeah.
or on
Yeah.
anything.
It's
I
just
feel
like,
bad too. Like, oh, sorry.
oh,
But I
no,
feel
no,
bad
go
too,
for it,
like
Andrew. Go.
from our side, because like Vicky and I are both photographers, so like from that perspective too, it's weird because it's like all these shows are coming back, but we can't put our content or like you know what I mean, like so
It's the
like we
same
can't
way
even
down
really
here.
work because people are just like, oh nope, that video, see all these people together, like that's wild, you can't do that.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
like
like
we have to wait.
Regardless if it's
so
legal or not.
yeah, so it's just like there's slowly like these little steps. Like there's the next step, like festivals opening up. Then it's like, oh, when once festivals open up, is like, is that when it's okay to like show content because there's thousands
Right.
of people there? Or like,
Yeah, and it's like we don't even know if like festivals are opening up for media for that reason. Like we're like trying to figure out like, yeah, we can send people through like selling tickets or whatever, but like we don't know if we can go out there and do interviews and do media and like, what we want to do, like what we're founded on. And it's like,
It's going to be so
damn, it's gonna be
weird, dude.
weird.
It's going to be
yeah,
so weird. Like, I just thought about that from like your perspective of not only being photographers, but also like having a blog site. And it's like the interviews that you guys do with on site, it's like, are you going to get tested to sit in the same room with each other? Or are you going to have
yeah.
your masks on and be talking? Like, how the fuck is that going to work?
Or like, do we have
Holy
to all
shit.
like show our vaccination card at the beginning of the interview? Like,
Yeah.
don't
I
get us
mean, I
Oh,
off
got it.
guys. We're
I mean,
all
I
good
got
here.
it,
here's
but
the barcode.
yeah,
yeah,
it's like, I
Ugh.
don't, yeah, like that's something I've been thinking about recently. And it's like, okay, yeah, we want to do these interviews. Like, yeah, I love doing these video interviews. It's awesome, but
It's so different.
it's so different that it's like a different bread and butter kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm doing my first in-person podcast with Blunts and Blondes for 420, and
nice.
like we're gonna do like in person, and
Yes,
I hope you
it like
survive that.
yeah. Thank you very much.
honestly,
Thank you. Probably will not. He will probably be the only one left on camera if you get me. But that's why like I've been so like not necessarily like nervous, but I'm so used to talking to people like this now, and it's like
hmm
talking to somebody in person. I even see myself, because now places in Florida are open. I don't really go out unless I'm booked to play, and if I'm booked to play, I just find myself being like, holy shit, like you low key don't remember how to talk to people. Like just like socialize and like not be like looking at the ground or doing whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like we're so used to being in our phones or on our laptops now. When we're all in person, we're gonna be like, holy
Yeah.
shit,
Well, you never
dude.
know like how to handshake someone now too. So it's like you never know if like the person wants to fist bump or like do the
Oh,
elbow thing or
I
like,
can just
is
imagine
it
that being
okay to
so
touch you?
awkward.
Like,
Yeah. Literally, like the hug.
So
Yeah,
awkward.
elbow. You have to do the elbow, like the elbow touch or like the fist bump, maybe. I don't know.
I always
Maybe.
catch people's hand on accident because like I normally go to shake people or like high five. So when people fist bump, I'm just like the guy catching.
I need like some slow motion content videos of people seeing each other at festivals for the first time because they're gonna run into
Yes.
each other and then they're gonna make eye contact and this like mind translation's gonna go through like, hey, can I touch you? Like, are you okay with me
Yeah.
touching you? And then there's gonna be like a pause and then they're gonna embrace and fall on the ground. And I don't
Literally.
know, but it's just gonna be so like, even though yeah there was some definite like beef that happened over this time, I feel like there's a lot of like amazing friendships and relationships that may not have been like developed because we had all this time to like talk to people via the internet, and there's gonna be so many like online relationships become in real life relationships, and like
Yeah.
I think that's so cool because overall I believe this has made the community a lot closer
Yeah. All the
regardless of anything.
collaboration.
I really think that's the way that this is like gone on, and it's going to be like really really sick. But the thing with the media, it is the same down here. Most places, most venues, you are not allowed media right now, and it's just simply from the fact that I don't even think it's on a scale of like EDM Twitter getting a hold of it. I think it's on a scale of like Bay News 9 getting a hold of it and like your
Yeah.
news channels getting a hold of
Yeah,
it,
exactly.
you know.
It
and
can be
and
anybody. It could
yeah.
be anybody, and they can twist it around
Oh
to
my
make
god,
it
Then my
something
whole thing is
else,
like,
and
look at
then
the Super Bowl. That's my whole defense every time. Like, come on, man. Like,
I was here for the Super Bowl.
work the
I'm
schools.
in
Like,
Tampa.
yeah.
It was just it was just surreal, like seeing what was going on, like what was being said in our community on like the internet, on Twitter, and then like going. I didn't go into the city at all week. It was insane all week. All of our venues were absorbed by promotions and promoter companies from Miami, and we had like Migos, Kodak Black, Gucci Mane, Tory Lanez,
Yeah.
like all of these guys throwing these huge shows, like bigger than any rave that could like happen in the Tampa area. And they were like all inside, a few outside, and you're just like, holy shit, dude. And like, no, I don't think that was the way for it to be done. But it's wild to see like actually like responsible capped shows happening, and like then this happened, and like hardly anyone was saying like anything. And I get it, they want like these people want like an immediate response, like they want a response from the people they're like kind of coming at. But it was pretty crazy because you had, I don't even know how many people came in. It was like $1 billion profit from the Super Bowl weekend, and it was just wild everywhere. Like it was
Yeah.
just insane. And that was in February too. And like in February, the cases were still pretty bad everywhere. The vaccine was our saving grace. The vaccine is the only reason why we have, I think, progressed as much as we have in the short amount of time, you
I
know?
definitely agree. I definitely agree. And it's like that your whole ass state just made so much money off the Super Bowl. So your state can kind of start getting back to normal itself too. I mean, like, yeah, it's a huge ass show that happened, but look, like stuff is going to start happening, and I just think people need to think about it in a way that way too, so we could stop getting these tax write-offs.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like people also have to understand too how close, if not already happening, of like all of these venues closing. And it's like all of these like small to medium sized venues that would like bet their talent on like me or like one of these up and comers to bring them in. Like a lot of these guys are just gone now. And it's like we may not see it like now, but like the long-term effects of it is like, is every venue now going to be owned by Live Nation? Is every venue now going to be owned by X, Y, and Z? Because it's like you have the stage or the Save Our Stages funds, but what people don't understand is like the big players such as Live Nation, such as AEG, you know, they have teams of lawyers in place to obtain that money as quickly as possible
Yeah. They know
when the
exactly
mom
how
and
to
pop
file.
places are like left on the side of the road, you know, or they may
Hmm.
not even know how to get it.
Yeah. There's been a big issue here with like the mega churches, like
Wait, what?
Lakewood. Yeah, like make all the mega churches like claimed all the like to get a bunch of like millions of dollars in like tax relief and all that. Like Joel Osteen, you know, like the
Oh
super rich
boy.
guy, like
Yeah. We
Beep.
literally,
like all these people. And
yeah.
then there's like these small little churches closing out too. So it's like the same thing as venues, though. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it is. That's actually like a great analogy. I fucking watched a commercial with Joel Osteen yesterday, and and my boyfriend goes, "Do you think he actually believes in God, or do you think he just makes so much fucking money out of this shit
He
that
makes
he's
so
just
much.
running with it?" And
Yeah,
it's
I think
like,
he
Yeah.
believes the money's gone. He just keeps what
that's
keeps
his
fueling
key.
him. You know?
I'm just like, homie's over here with like 20 books, like all of this shit,
His
and
church is massive. It has traffic every Sunday morning, like all around it. It's like right off the freeway too.
and
So it's
this is
like,
terrible too, and I know somebody's gonna fucking maybe, probably not, maybe come at me for saying this, but it's like I use churches as like a great example. Them bitches never stopped being packed. Our
Right.
churches never stopped being packed. We have like a main highway by us, and they have like the mega structure churches every Sunday
Yeah.
since ever. There's still been like 300-400 cars outside on the side of the
Like to
road going
iterate
to
like how
church.
big like that Lakewood church is, like it was like the old like stadium for the Houston Rockets when they won the back-to-back championship in '94
Hmm.
and '95 or whatever. So it was like it's literally a stadium full of
Yeah.
people like going to
it's
church every
massive.
Sunday.
Live production, like live TV production and everything.
And they have bands and stuff too. They have
Oh,
choirs and
absolutely.
bands and all of that stuff. It's like,
Hmm.
okay, I'll play in a church. Like, let's bring the rave
Yeah.
to the church. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, let's
And he
go.
let Kanye in, so
Oh
They
my
did let Kanye
God.
in. That was great.
No way.
yeah,
Really?
Kanye played Lakewood. You didn't see that? It was like a whole live stream and everything. It was pretty
Holy
lit,
shit.
but
That's crazy. Didn't he win the Grammy for the best Christian contemporary rap album or something this year? I think
probably
he
I
won the
could see
Grammy
that.
for like Christian
Yeah.
rap album.
I'm
And
gonna
I
have
was
to Google. Hold
no,
up.
please Google that
Yeah,
because
do
I
the
think
fact
it's
check.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, please fact check that. You're being my who's the guy on Joe Rogan? You're
Oh
Yeah.
being my
yeah.
Jamie.
yeah,
Jamie. Yeah,
Jamie. You're
yeah.
being my Jamie. Oh,
Like, look
please
that up
do
real
it.
quick. Like, hold up.
No, I'm excited to know this honestly because I was reading through it because it's so cool because so many people like within the EDM community were nominated this year. So I was like, all right,
Yeah.
like probably should pay
Kanye
attention.
West wins Best Contemporary Christian Music Album in 2021. Album for Jesus is King,
There
that
we
released in
go.
So
2019.
why we're in the top 40? What do you think of this new Bieber?
Um, I think the producers on the album are phenomenal. You got
Skrillex, Virtual
Troy
Ryan, you got
Boy,
Troy
Troy
Boy, yeah.
Boy. Yeah.
and then Shindo. He's from down here,
Oh
but like
yeah.
he's
I've
been
seen
doing
him.
like stuff with Nitty Gritty for a long time. But I don't know. I think it was Peaches was the song, and
Mhm.
that was like one of the biggest hits out of the album so far. And he like wrote that whole tune, which is like really
Yes.
really fucking cool. And like
That's
that's what
awesome.
should happen, you know? Like there's so much talent. I always say this too cuz like I'll go from time to time and I've been writing a lot of music that like isn't dubstep, and it's like it's not like it's necessarily easy, but it's like you take the concept of like sound design and all the techniques that we utilize in dubstep and you apply it to like just hip hop beats or pop music, and you're like, dude, this is a piece of cake. Like I could write this all fucking day. And it's like that's what I would love to see more like producers who are just in that EDM field and kind of have their blinders on there. It's like take their talents and go to another genre because they're like
Mhm.
kicking ass. Like Plasma, Mikey, he's been selling tons of hip hop beats, making crazy money, which is like awesome. But it's like sometimes you kind of just have to reframe your mind and be like, how can I take this if it's not working and go somewhere else and be like, okay, I still am really fucking talented at this. Let me make some
Yeah.
money off of it because you go to other genres and people are just like kind of so surprised at the products that you can produce from doing this intricate technical, electronic dance music shit.
Yeah, and you grab so much other inspiration if you start doing stuff from other genres. Like you never know what could come from it, and then that's what makes all these artists start branching off into like a new sound of their own, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm just going to make this album. It's going to be a huge rock album, or it's going to be like a big dubstep album, or it's going to be hip hop influence, or it's going to be, so on and so forth." And that just
Yeah.
That's why like I'm also
progresses
gonna
your
Absolutely.
see
brand.
this new wave of like future rhythm and all that. So that's all these dubstep producers can actually feel comfortable like making melodic stuff
Actually
Yeah,
making like
and like step
listenable,
outside of
non-atonal
like
shit.
yeah, just step outside of like just the heavy dubstep like all nonstop. So it's good to see like the progression of music finally like getting like a
hmm
little bit melodic sprinkled in there finally.
exactly. I really like what Ulisile is doing with Halcyon. It's probably like my
Yes.
favorite, probably one of my favorite like labels that have come out of like this pandemic era kind of
Absolutely. And
thing.
there's so many, and I think it's so fucking cool. And they're all like artist ran. Like they're artist curated,
hmm
artist ran. They may have other people who are not artists on their team, but it's like that's the head. And it's like you look at the biggest labels in our industry and they're all artist curated. So it's like imagine Halicon in 10 years, you know?
Yeah,
Imagine Cyclopslex in 10 years. And like
yeah.
that's some really, really dope stuff. And even like Wakan coming out with like a sub label and all of that stuff,
yeah,
it's very cool. And then you look at like Chime Harvey, because I'm on that Future Rhythm wave. When I saw that shit, I'd like been playing out Future Rhythm, writing Future Rhythm for like before it was called Future Rhythm. It was just melodic
Yeah.
dubstep.
yeah.
And it was always something where people kind of like tilted their head like a dog and like they kind of understood it, but they didn't really
Yeah,
understand it
they're
and they
like, pick
could
a lane. What do you want to do with this? You don't know.
exactly. And
Yeah.
then you take us out of clubs and you're like, well, these kids still want to listen to bass music, but you need something that's melodic or has a vocal or something to gain onto that's not just like, okay, where's my rail? I don't have a rail anymore. So like I need something. And that made me so happy because now it's broken its way onto Never Say Die, onto Disciple.
hmm
You know, that's what Ulisile platforms his whole entire label off
Yeah.
of. And I think it is badass. And I'm really, really excited for like the future of that because now I can conceptually, like, realistically see like future rhythm stages, like a Halicon takeover or Rushdown takeover, Chimes label. And
Yeah.
like that shit is so dope because now there's people who like love it, you know?
hmm I can definitely see like stage takeovers happening way more, and it just being filled with new talent and just like artists that you see online, and then you see them on stage, and you're just like, wow,
You're
I
like,
can't believe
wow.
you're here. Yeah,
It's
you're
like
like
that
all this
moment.
music. Yeah, all this
And
music I listen to, I'm just like, I know it. Like, bring it to me in huge speakers. I love that.
yes, right? And it's like this time, and you guys are like the first people who I've talked to that, besides Darrell from Electric Hawk, that really work for a blog that does all of these write-ups for songs and does all of these, you know, artists to watch lists and stuff. And I feel like 2020 has been such a change, exciting year for experimental music and like new artists that
hmm
I always use Papa Khan as a good example, that may have never gotten that attention if our world did not stop. And
Absolutely.
and it's really cool. And like, what do you guys think from, you know, the angle of Trillvo about all of these new artists, and how do you think that's gonna get adapted to when festivals come back? Is it unrealistic to say that these talent buyers are gonna seek out these artists, or
Andrew, do you want to go first?
Oh yeah, sure. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely not unrealistic. Like people are gonna see people like Papa. Like, I'm sure Papa Khan's inbox is full of offers right now. You know what I mean? Like they're
Mhm.
probably just not even answering because they're like, yeah, we have too many. You know, like
hmm
so it's yeah, it's amazing to see from the blog standpoint. I love seeing like the smaller artists being able to work too. It's kind of like what you're saying about the label stuff too, that they have like a figurehead that's so big, like people like Liquid Stranger or Excision, opening up all these different like their own and Subtronics. Like people, the smaller artists will already want like look up to them, so they're gonna send them like their best shit,
Yeah.
getting
Absolutely.
to hear. And like the artists actually had this so much time right now during quarantine, you're getting to actually hear them like curate some crazy shit that people I don't think like would have gotten heard because the artists would have been touring so much.
Yeah.
Especially like the
Absolutely.
Tune Reactor stuff on like Twitch and stuff. Like
Mhm.
that's become like my new favorite way to find artists and music, just like seeing what people send in.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think like with these new like artist driven labels, like bringing music to being released, it really helps these artists that wouldn't get releases come out now. Is because when talent agencies are like looking, or promoters are looking to book, they look at Spotify numbers. They look at Spotify
Yep.
numbers. They look at your monthly listeners. If your monthly listeners aren't XYZ, they're not gonna really look at you, because right now they're looking for numbers that will sell, because that's just like that's how the game is. And then like later on, yeah, they'll find you, and then like they'll book you for later. But like with these labels coming out and like artists using their platform to bring up other artists, I think that's really great, because then their numbers start going up, people start recognizing them, new music starts getting brought to the forefront, like especially with Cyclops Army,
Yep.
like oh my gosh, like that type of music that Subtronics is bringing to the forefront is like my shit. Like that,
Yeah.
like experimental dubstep kind of shit. Like his Guppy EP that he released. He has
Yes.
another EP coming out with Hugh K coming out. Like I love Hugh K too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
him getting an EP on Cyclops record is fucking amazing. Like
Mhm.
Never Say Die and Black Label kind of merging together is another good example of like music just kind of like being more not so much about the genre, just but like
Yeah,
fitting
like it
into
doesn't
like
need
a
to be a
sound.
division. Yeah.
Just being good, like just being
Yeah.
good music. And I feel like, I was talking to Jequi earlier. Cyclops Rex is the perfect example of how much power an artist of that caliber has, and has endlessly. And all they have to do is trigger that attention and trigger that energy to one up and coming artist, and their whole career could be made.
Hmm.
And it's like knowing the back end of the industry, like you can kind of, the journey can go many different ways. Like you can get picked up by a talent agent that's on a large agency, then you get bargained with the bigger players, X, Y, and Z. But, I look at people like Excision, like Subtronics, like Riot 10, the guy who does the up and coming story artists on his stories all the time. And it's like, it takes 2 seconds out of their day, but it literally could introduce one of their biggest fans to an up and coming artist,
Yeah.
and I think the more that we see big artists start to do that, not only do I believe those artists are going to be the ones who are around the longest, but they're going to pave the way for like the change that's going to come in electronic music. And I felt like before quarantine, there was like this gate of like where all these up and comers were. And then there was like this muddy area where nobody was. And then it was like the headliners and everyone on UTA and everyone on Paradigm. And these guys were kind of getting sprinkled on big releases, but not really. And then throughout quarantine, they kind of got pushed with their releases, whether it was Never Say Die, Disciple Roundtable, Subsidia, Halicon, Cyclops Rex. And now like this middle area no longer exists, and these artists that are over here are paving their ways for these kids to start coming over. And it's
Hmm.
like so fucking cool. It gives me chills because I used to sit down and be like, this like it'll happen for you, but like it may not happen. But like for something this big to happen where these artists have taken kind of the initiative, it means the world to the next generations of artists that are going to come up and make music that is not like their music. That is the next wave of EDM.
Yeah, and like the quarantine, like we were saying, it's been like really good about that because like it's you're getting to see like the what would happen like from behind the scenes, kind of like publicly, like because
Mm-hmm.
normally how these people would get to know these like new artists and stuff is like you'd be at a festival or hear a track and you're like, what the hell song was that? And then like you go to try to go to like 1001 track list or something and be like, okay, who's this artist? Let me go to his SoundCloud. But now it's like the artist like actually pushing them out and like actively like no here it is like giving them that spotlight and like
Hmm.
shout out to you on the Lost Lands list, you know what I mean, seeing
Thank
all
you.
that list full of all the so much
It's
underground talent and
literally
people,
made
I
me
was like
so happy. It's just,
yeah, like seeing a list like that is like stuff that makes it so like
but
awesome.
that's like the epitome of what this year was. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Hmm.
remember when that list came out last year, I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm not on it. Like, there were only maybe a handful. I'm talking like 10 to 15 names that weren't already on UTA or were already on Paradigm. Like, these
Yeah,
were just headliners. And this year, I was like, oh shit, this motherfucker came out again. I was like, don't freak out. Don't freak out if you're not on it. It's gonna be okay.
There are
And then I
some
looked
names.
and I was like, holy shit. All my friends were on there. Everyone on the Disciple Roundtable compilation was
yes,
on there. Everyone on the Subsidia compilation was on there. And
yes,
I was just like, yes, like this is it. Like and because, us from like our agents were being told, hey, like just be prepared. Like most lineups from 2020 are being carried to 2021. There's going to be like little to no recuration of lineups X, Y, and
yeah,
Z.
like the
And
artist that can make it
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
national,
And
like
it's just
record
the
spot.
easiest thing to do. It's the easier thing to do. But I was preparing for that for Lost Lands. So I think having interactions with Excision's team and just seeing how he just treats people in general and does things, I don't think he would have done something like that just for attention to his event if he wasn't
Yeah.
seriously recurating the lineup, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think with the amount of underground artists and the amount of names on there, it really does show that like he's ready to bring something real good. And like whatever it is, it's going to be really great. And I
I
think it's
It's
know.
definitely going to be like
100%
something for
underground
the
content.
underground.
Yeah.
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 I could
Yeah.
definitely see it. And it's like really great seeing some of those names on there. Just like seeing them like grind and they're just like on there. Like there's some names that like aren't even like haven't had like really big releases or anything like that are on there, and I'm just like, yes, bro, like you're on there. Let's go.
Yeah, like let's fucking go. And I just feel like I get it. Like I think we all went through our mental ruts. I think there was one point throughout the past year where everybody had like a really fucking low point where they were like, dude, we don't know when this shit's gonna end. Like, we're just trying to keep going, but it's really fucking hard right now. That was like last May through July for me. And like
Mhm.
everyone has a different time, but I think you're gonna just start to see the repercussions of the people who put their head down and like grinded this whole time and learned. And it doesn't matter what level they're at now, it doesn't matter what level they're at in period. Just like there are people who literally moved fucking mountains, whether it was releases, whether it was live streams, new things like podcasts or radio shows. Like so many people put their head down and worked because they knew this was their opportunity as an up and coming artist to really propel themselves forward. And I'm
Mhm.
just saying, like, they're coming. Like, we're coming for the big guys. Like, we
Yeah.
really are. And like, it's really cool to see such a talented group of people because the group's small. At the end of the day, this whole industry is a very small industry when you get to the end of it. And like, you end up knowing most everybody or at least being acquaintances with them in some
Mhm.
way, shape, or form. And like, it's so cool to see everybody, like, for the most part, rising together. And it's all people who do their own shit, who work for their own stuff, and like they have this vision. And whether they have a team or not, like they're getting shit done and people are noticing them. And that's like all it takes to bring in a new wave, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, like I'm honestly like, I don't think all these like like the headliners from like 2019, 2020 is like none of them put out music. You know what I mean? This whole quarantine, it's like, oh, just wait, hold on to it. But it's like I think by the time they finally put out music, it's like that sound's gonna be passed because you know everyone like every 3 years like the genres and stuff just change and get
And
different.
that's just how it
So,
is, and it rotates throughout. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like if those people aren't putting something out, like y'all, like you said, like y'all are hungry and y'all are ready, and like people are listening right now. So it's I think like I said, it's underground's time to shine.
And it's like if Excision's looking, like the agents are looking, the managers are looking. They're looking at these people who these big artists are like, all right, I'm going to retweet your shit. I'm going to support you. I'm going to release you on my label. And I just can totally see what you said about like the Halicon stage takeovers. I can see a subsidy a day.
Mhm.
I can see these stages that are like, oh, the base stage, base 2 stage, whatever, becoming straight label takeover stages,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, in the
I think at
future.
LBW, Wakan is doing a stage. It's what,
Wakan and
LA.
Destructo AMF.
yeah,
Fuck
and then,
yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely happening. And
That's
I'm gonna be
crazy. And
all with that Wakan.
yeah, right, right. There you
Planted.
go. I know it's
Planted.
fucking dope. What is the new label that they just is it
Swan.
The
was
Swan, the Swan,
Wascon?
The
the
Swan.
Swan.
The
The
Swan.
Squan.
Yeah,
Squan.
I only know
Squan.
how to pronounce it because I
Okay.
was there when he like introduced it.
I love it. But is it for like weirder shit than what they're already
Down
putting out?
tempo,
It's
yeah,
Or
down tempo.
that's
music.
awesome.
So yes,
That's
you could
dope.
definitely say weirder shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean it's cool because like I think there's becoming homes for like all of these different subgenres. And like if you want to release independently, like totally do you. I think there's such like a respect and like special notability to people who do choose the independent road. I like always use Swarm as a great example. Like he's somebody who has really just like had his vision and he's released 95% of his material independently and like he's on every fucking lineup right now that's been announced. So like
Yeah.
it's obviously working. It takes perseverance,
Mhm.
but it's obviously working. But like it's really cool that like for the down tempo and for like the future rhythm and for like the glitch hop, like there's all stuff that's starting to come about or that like weird shit that Cyclops Rex is like the space wizard stuff and the guppy stuff. Like there's never been a place for that to call home, and like now there is. And it's like it's really really exciting because it's just going to inspire the next wave after us to do even
Mhm.
weirder shit, and that's how it's
Yeah.
supposed to progress, you know?
Yeah, like you were saying, like there was that muddy area, like with these labels and these bigger artists using their platforms to pave these ways. There are subgenres that people can start flowing into, and it starts making sense, and you're like more streamlining it correctly rather than just
Yeah.
here's my music independently released. Yeah, I have a following, but let's see where it goes. But now you kind of have kind of like a pathway. Like
Yeah.
nobody knows what they're doing. We're kind of building it on our own if you haven't realized it. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
as you know, we just keep going and
No,
But
which
growing.
is
so
super
like for
dope.
important for smaller artists, for like or like up and coming artists to do have those releases, you know, because
Mhm.
it is like when you see like the like what's it called, whatever, like the little releases coming in or with like the artist breakdown, and it's like has had releases with X, Y, and Z. It's one of the first things they say. So
Hmm.
like it
Yeah,
helps a lot. So,
it
but
definitely
definitely
does.
good. I mean, if you can do it, but I think definitely when if you're trying to like up and come and build, like having those like releases are very like helpful. You know.
Yeah.
And they just like expose you to a new demographic. Like because like I was having the conversation earlier, fans and like followers are like two different, totally different worlds. Like people
Hmm.
who are willing to press follow for whatever reason, and people who are willing to spend 35 bucks on a t-shirt or 25 bucks on a ticket is a totally different ball game. And
That's so
it's
true.
like it's definitely like a long road to have those like legitimate fans. And I think every time you're part of a compilation, even though you may be like, hey, I'm on here with fucking 40 other people, I'm getting shitty X, Y, and Z, but like the amount of exposure you get to people who didn't know you existed is like
Yeah.
the key. Because I think
Hmm.
the biggest problem that people in my shoes have is like once people find out you exist, they love you. But it's like the question is like how is the quickest way to show everyone that you exist and you're an artist and that you have music, and it's like whether it's touring or especially like the compilations during these times, it's worth it simply for the facet of like exposure, I should say. But like long term, those all add up on what it is, your one sheet or just your bio in general, to
Hmm.
having those releases. Because it's like when I released on Disciple Roundtable, we got like 4 or 5 people who contacted my manager and said, when everything is all over and done, we'll have her out, because they discovered all my music through that one tune. And like
Yeah.
that's the
Hmm.
point of it, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. It helps you grow your repertoire. Yeah, and it makes you travel, and people realize that. People look at where where your demographic is coming from, like where your music is selling the most, and of course they're going to put you out there. So it's good that
Yeah,
new music
absolutely.
and stuff like that can help you.
Definitely. I mean, when we went in to quarantine, what were you guys kind of thinking in a position of like Trillville? Like, did you have to, like most of us, like adjust, your day to day kind of logistics on how you were going to continue to expand Trillville? Because over this time, you guys have grown substantially from this time last year to now. So it's like, how did you kind of set up your mind to be like, all right, we're not gonna like stop doing this just because the shit is like shutting down? It's the equivalent to saying like, hey, I'm not gonna release music until this is over, you know? So, what did you guys do to move forward?
The focus really turned back on the blog
Mm-hmm.
because, before it was go to shows, go to festivals, gear up, like when March is coming around, that's like when festival season is hitting. All these festivals are coming out, so you're like putting out applications. So we had a team to go out there and do that, but now we had to turn our focus back onto music and really dial in on releasing music, getting artists to like know our brand, getting music released out there and just reviewing. So it was just a little difficult getting back into that like like swing of things,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but we just kept like pushing and just try to keep our name like afloat and try to keep showcasing these artists, kept supporting our homies. Like that's what
Yeah.
it is about.
My bad, dude.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Like one of the big difficulties, like she was saying, like is we had to like refocus everything. Like a lot of our team members were like we found out, we're in it just for like the show or like the festivals, because that was like the biggest incentive,
A
you
lot of
can get
people are.
sent to
Yeah.
a festival and like interview your favorite artist or whatever. But it's like when that's not a thing, it's like finding those people who are actually really truly about the music and that really love it. So you see the quality of writing actually go up during the quarantine, because like you weed out the people who are just in it for like, I want to do something fun, like
Yeah, yeah,
it actually made the team stronger, like because we were able to refocus everything on like who's actually who wants to actually work in the industry. Like do
Mhm.
you want to just go to a show for free, or do you want to like have a career in the industry and like build into something? Because
yeah.
Trill's
That's
the
Absolutely.
launching point for
yeah.
that.
That's what Trillvo did for me. It literally got me my like career, and like my life revolved around music, and that's, I mean, that's what I wanted honestly from it, and I couldn't be more thankful from it. You know?
Because to
Yeah.
me, that's like the bigger incentive to working for Trillvo, is like the ability for you to like move forward and like take all this knowledge of like the industry and learn and absorb it.
Yeah, it helps me and Andrew get gigs left and right from Trillvo. Like we have photography from festivals, we have photography from events. Like my boy is shooting artists at LBW that like are our favorites. Like I
Yeah.
would have never thought that we could like get, requests from these artists or being able to do this, so on and so forth. It's just like really nice, and that's what like I feel like a good premises of why I love doing Trovo. Like I get to help people reach that next step. We get to be there for the underground
Yeah,
and give them their first article write up, their first live, their first interview, their first
yeah, the first
whatever,
headline show or
Yeah,
something.
their first
I
headline,
just something,
whatever, you
like
know, slight
yeah,
flex on that one.
it's a whole labor. It's a big labor of love for us. So it's like, and that, what we love is being able to like help build up people's dreams. Like that's why we
Yeah.
exist. We'll just help
And
people have forward.
especially like giving a voice to the underground. Like I find that similar in some sort of connotation of like what I do with EXO Radio, because it's like you give people their like first opportunities to do something for the first time. Like on your end, it's like whether that's a song release or a write up or an interview. And like on my end, it's like I gave More Kismet his first guest mix. I gave Swarm his
Hmm.
first guest mix, and like that's huge, because what you guys are going to do and what I do is you look back 2 years ago, you look back 3 years ago, and you're like, that motherfucker's huge now,
Yeah.
I
and
love
it's
looking through
so
our
cool.
catalog of guest mixes and just seeing where people are now.
It
Yeah.
really is great. Yeah,
And it's
yeah,
cool.
it really is great to be able to even help out. Like back in the day, whenever we would throw shows, we brought some like really big trap names that still come back to this day because they love the city so much. Like we've brought so many acts that like Lit Lord, Skellism,
Yeah.
Say My Name, and like they just love coming back to Houston because we got to bring them out for their first time
Yeah.
like 2, 3
And they
years
know they have
ago.
like family here when they come too.
Exactly.
And I don't think artists ever forget that. Like I've
Mm-mm.
never anytime I've left Florida, I remember it on the tip of my head who booked me, who brought me, because it's so exciting as an artist to be in the shoes going somewhere. It's scary, but like if the event company does their job and you go somewhere and their street team is so strong that you have a room full of people who may have heard your name, may have listened to a few tracks, but they don't really know you, and they've trusted, per se Trillvo, that you guys are going to book good ass talent, and then they fall in love with that artist and they follow them everywhere. Like that's something that like we as artists never forget. We're like, holy
Yeah.
shit, they did us like the biggest favor in the world by investing. You're literally investing in us. You're like trusting us to come and do our job for you, and in turn you've opened up this whole like world of people who maybe didn't know we exist but just trusted you guys or the event night or the event concept to come and have fun. And like that's the really like cool things I think that happen when you know you are willing to take a chance on like the underground and you just don't go for the big court like score players and stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that's more like signs just keep pointing more and more to like gearing back to shows, and I'm just hoping cards play right where we can throw shows under the Trovo name or like back again under the Trovo name and just be able to bring underground to Houston and like
You know,
just
because
bring
we
it
love,
in.
you know, one of our biggest things that I love too is like have that do being able
Same, same.
I do that all the time. I'm like, what?
no, but it's just do being able to give back, like give those artists like their first headlining show, you know, because it's like some people like see like, oh, this guy just got like a Never Say Die release or something, but they're like, I don't know if he's quite big enough yet, or like they're just wait. Some people are just waiting for like that one person to be like, okay, well they booked him a headlining show, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull the trigger now, you know, like it takes that one to
It
pop
takes
up.
one person. I can say firsthand, it takes one person who believes in you enough to kind of put their name on the line to vouch for you to get all these people who were just waiting and they were kind of on that fence like maybe what we need some more bookings maybe but she needs some more releases and you get
Yeah,
that one release you get that one booking you get that one support
Hmm.
slot on a tour and that's it then you've got 10 motherfuckers ready to book you, sending in offers. Hey, does she have any music right now? Can she send us something? Does she want to
Yeah.
remix this? And it's like, it's so wild how it takes one person. And that kind of like correlates back to all of these huge artists having this like magical hand of power that they
Hmm.
have
yeah,
because people trust them because they put in the time and the work and have the reputation for all of their fans to trust whatever the fuck they say.
yeah,
So, you know, and that can also be dangerous too. Don't get me wrong. Like there are some
yeah,
people who
right.
kind of spew on the other side of that as well. You know, it matters what you say as an artist. It matters what you guys say as Trillvo because there's people who confide in you and trust what you say. And that's a
Yeah,
very dangerous thing being in the age of social media as we are today, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. It's definitely during the pandemic era. That's what I keep calling it.
Yeah, it
I
literally is.
realized I realized like how important and it is very important to like say what you preach or preach what like practice what you preach. There you go. That's the word.
Yeah.
That's the wording.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't I'm not saying I'm not truthful online, but I'm not going to put everything I believe in out there just for the sake of my own
Mhm.
because I'm not going to be like I'm not going to tell you everything like yo hit me up, talk to me and we can talk in person because text can be very misconstrued
Oh, yeah.
into different things and that's like the worst thing about online too
yeah. And the
that
last
I
thing is
hate.
a mob coming at you for like posting a video of a
Of
like
something that you thought was funny and it was like a thing in the moment and just gets taken the wrong way. People will look in the
Literally.
background and be like, why do you have that upside down cross on you? I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'll turn it around. Was it on accident? It fell,
Like
the nail came off. Like, what the fuck?
uh and it's just like right now everyone just has more than ample time to pay attention to the small details.
People are bored.
People
That's
are
what it
so
is.
bored
People are so bored.
yeah.
So bored.
and they're like
I think
sick
people
of
just
it. They're
like to
sick of the routine.
yeah, people just like to look good too, you know? Like a lot of people just like have this like I don't know what to call it. It's just like I think someone called it the other day. It was like toxic positivity. It's
I
like
think I saw that tweet literally. I think I
yeah.
saw what you
Yeah, I was
It's
like that
yeah.
describes like a lot like of what I'm seeing lately. I'm like just people being like trying to just be so virtuous, but it's like people are just trying to live, you know? Like
Yeah, and it's like I get it. Like I just feel like there's a time and place for everything. And like there's something also that I think is very cool with this new age of artists and like my friends that are artists and stuff and like we're breaking down this like fourth wall where you're kind of construed as something like perfect like
Hmm.
and it's like hey like we're an artist we're human too like when we see somebody talking trash to our friend in the morning on Twitter like yeah that puts us in a bad mood too or talking trash to us like yeah that like affects our mental energy like that affects like our like drive to do the best we can that day and like we're all human so no like we're not gonna be 100% all the fucking time but I think it's also important not to portray that you're living this perfect life because nobody is, you know? And
yeah.
I think that's what's so dangerous about social media is because you're literally just you're seeing the story that everybody wants to tell about themselves and you're seeing in the best light that they can
Yeah,
possibly
you're not seeing
imagine
the
it in.
real story. You're seeing what they want you to, what they
Mm-hmm.
want to show.
Yeah, we have a segment on Trillvo called Trillvo Cares, and it's about like the raw side of the industry basically, and it's like we highlight mental illness, we highlight like addiction and all that stuff. We had 10 graphs on there, and he talked very raw about his upbringing and kind of like how he's been like changed throughout music and how like he has progressed as a human throughout that stuff, and it really affects like your music and it affects your story. So people really do
Absolutely.
need to take in into consideration about
Yeah.
stuff behind the screen
Yeah.
and the
I-
actual person, the brain behind the person, you know?
And
Yeah, like I love being able
especially,
to
yeah.
share those real stories because it's just like
Mhm.
people, like you're saying, people just see like what they want them to see. They don't see like what they're actually dealing with, like rough issues. So it's good to
Hmm.
have with good when people are actually able to open up and talk about it. Because like, yeah, this is something I went through. Here's how I dealt with it. Because someone might need just to hear that one sentence, that one line, or like,
Yeah.
this is what helped me. You know, like try it out. Like,
That's what I love about like Discord and stuff, and like places where people can just kind of talk transparently without like having their name associated to a picture, or having their name and like Reddit and stuff. And you can go and read on these forums and participate in these forums. And like, wow, that can be like anonymously dangerous. Sometimes like it's where I see people open up the most that need help
Hmm.
on like an actual platform that's public. Um, but I definitely think, unfortunately, with how many people we've lost in the last year, which has been way too fucking many people, there is now an attention coming to the forefront of what happens on the back end of the industry. And that's really fucking cool. I'm going to highlight the Trillvo Cares thing in the description below for the episode because more people need to talk about it because they're not talking about it. Even with everything happening, people are still not talking about what is bringing about these huge defects in mental health for touring artists and touring teams and why people get in these holes. And then when they're taken away from their, you know, yearly or 6 month to 8 month touring year rounds, and, you know, that life is taken away from them, why they just freak the fuck out and they're not okay because they've just been hiding the fact that they haven't been okay because they've been doing so many things. And it's like when your life stops, especially being a touring artist, I feel like that shit just slapped a lot of people in the face. And it
yeah,
was like, that's why and you know, this, everybody's like to each their own, but I do look at artist teams when some things happen and I'm like, man, like you got to be fucking real with them. And like if not, like it's so important to, I feel like, surround yourself with people who have good heads on their shoulders. And I get it that it's hard in this industry to do that sometimes,
Hmm.
but you can just get lost in so much shit in festival season, in touring year round, and then it just keeps going and you never stop, and then you blink and you're gone. And you know, and it's like a really hard thing to talk about because nobody wants to hear this and nobody wants to
Yeah.
talk about the other side of it, but there's things that we enable in our industry that will never go away. No, it won't. It's least and you know, I think alcohol and substance abuse is less accepted than it's ever been in a public way in on the back end of our industry, but it still happens and it's always going to happen. But it's like making sure you're, you know, just being aware and consciously looking around at your team when you're on tour and looking for the signs and tell-alls that
Hmm.
something is really wrong is something that I don't think is happening on a large scale.
I
And it
agree.
sucks, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like that should be something that comes with a good manager and a good like agency and a good team around you. Like if you have people that care about your mental health, care about you as a person, and then yes, care about your music that you create, then that's a great person to have around you. You don't want someone that's just like, all right, push your music, push your music, push your music,
yeah.
push your music. Like
I
you
do
need someone
think
that cares about you.
I think like mental health and music will always go hand in hand because like a lot of people do like use music as an outlet to
Yeah.
like
Hmm.
they create music for that reason. So like that's why a lot of these artists like it is so common in our industry because like that's why they create is to like get that out. So
Yeah, and when people like dog on your creative music, perfect example, Getter's
Literally, that's it. Yeah.
visceral
yeah,
like album, like that whole era, like people just dogged on it because it wasn't headbanger dubstep Getter,
totally.
and
Yeah.
like that like tore the man up, like seeing your own fans diss you, dog on you, boo you off stage, like that's not cool. And he like poured his heart and soul into it, and people are looking back and they're saying that's like one of the best things, like some of the best stuff he's created, and like all of his
Beautiful
new
album.
music, yeah, and all of his new music is still stemming off of that. And it's like
I remember I
And
saw
now look at this. Now look at look at the community now. Like look at the music that's coming out now. It's all melodic. It's all like in your face feels. Like
Yep.
you look at stupid.
Yeah.
yeah, like one of my saddest moments was it was a Buku like 2019 or something. I don't know. It was like that year that Visceral album came out, and it was even billed as like Getter Visceral set like at Buku.
People don't know
And
how
so
to
I'm there.
read.
It's during sunset, like it's perfect, pretty, beautiful, like
Oh.
in the vibe moment that everyone's just like, boo. I'm just like, what the?
I would have freaked out, dude.
I
I
was so
literally,
sad. Like,
oh my God.
I truly hate it here sometimes.
Ugh. And
And-
I think we're moving I think the fans and like just EDM consumers are moving away from putting an artist in a box. And because
Mhm.
I think that the newer artists aren't staying in the box. They're doing something so far out of the box, or they're putting out something that's a house tune, and the next tune they're putting out is a fucking dubstep tune. I look at a Craze as the perfect example. You know,
Mhm.
he's over here and he did stuff with 4B, and then he did stuff, you know, an independent dubstep release, and then he's doing stuff on Confessions, and it's like
Mhm.
that's the perfect example of like, and Nitty Gritty as well. You know,
oh
you
yeah,
don't have to do that, but an artist shouldn't be afraid to mature and develop its sound to how they want it to. They're an artist. And it was just so sad to see like he did something for himself that made him really happy. And like because of the fan base that was there before, just being full of like complete idiots and not like respecting the art and craft of what he did. He's such a talented producer, you know? It just sucks
Mhm.
to see something like that happen. But he was the example that I feel like our scene needed to be hit in the head with, to be like, hey, this is like not fucking okay to treat somebody like this. Who,
Yeah.
like, you know, I don't know.
yeah, no, 100%.
It's true. Like people shouldn't be dissing other artists' music. And honestly, I've recently learned that telling people, telling artists that you like their old stuff better is like a hit in the chest too. Like I've seen some artists like whenever they say they like their old stuff, they're honestly like, man, you know what? Fuck you. Like I really
Yeah.
don't like that you say this. Like because I'm progressing as an artist, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, I mean, damn, that's true. I mean, yeah, you may like their sound more, but this is what they're comfortable with. A good example is Porter Robinson.
Yeah.
Everybody's so used to his happy-go-lucky melodic world stuff, which is a beautiful album, like absolutely amazing. Don't get me wrong, but now what he's doing, his new Nurture album that's about to drop, is like more true to him and like sounds that he loves, and it's different. And if
This
you're
is
not
pop
a port
music. It's
yeah,
pop
it's
music, you
pop
know?
music, yeah, and that's what it always has been. It's still under the pop branch,
Mm-hmm.
but he's been like put on an indie alt playlist, like yeah, something that's like not even EDM. So it's like he's branching out to other stuff. He's getting his sound out there, and it's
Alternative
true
would
to
be the
himself.
best way for me to describe what he's doing, like an
Yeah.
alternative pop or like electro pop kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't
and I'm
know.
obsessed with it.
I love
I
it.
just I'm
Love
the
it.
true Porter
I
stan.
know you
Like,
are.
yeah, like me. I know me and Andrew are like. I got
Yeah.
the whole box set. Like, I got the
I,
2D
Yes.
box set.
I ordered it too. Oh my
Yeah, me and Andrew were like, oh my god, did you get the drop? Like, we're
God.
like about
We
it.
get the
Like,
text
and
alerts for all his stuff.
exactly, and
I
that's what I
love it.
like about music. It's just like it's so subjective, and it just sucks that it gets gatekeep kept a lot. You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I just think that not only are like the pioneers doing it more, but it, I think we'll get out of it. There will always be people, and you know, to people who enjoy artists' older music, it's just kind of like that's okay. Like that's okay if it's like not your cup of tea, but that doesn't mean that you still shouldn't support the artist because they're doing something different, because they're
Mhm.
still the same artist that made your favorite
Yeah.
song, you know?
Mhm.
Like they're
Yeah,
still
like
there.
yeah, like the example I always tell people is like you look back in the day at like classic rock and stuff, like the Beatles is the perfect example. I mean,
Yeah.
like their albums, every single one of them was different because they grew as artists. But like there was never a thing where it's like, oh well, fuck them. They didn't make the same song. It's like they're the
Yeah.
same
No.
genre. Like I'm done with
Everybody.
them. So
Yeah,
I don't know
everybody just
why
kept
in
along.
EDM it's such a thing where like artists feel like they have to be locked into one genre, or like if they make a different genre, they have to like completely rebrand or like I feel bad for them. Like
And
Yeah.
they don't, and I think it'll just take more artists being like, "Hey, I'm just gonna do me," and that's scary though. It is scary because a lot of times, agents or managers or even labels, like big labels like Universal Music Group or Warner or something, they don't want to put their name on somebody who's changing all the time, which like
Mhm.
I get, but like pop artists do it all the time. And it's like, how many dubstep EPs am I gonna put out before I'm fucking sick of it,
Yeah.
And before I want to put out a pop EP, or I want to do, an indie songwriter EP. And I think it's like sneaking the one song on the dubstep EP that's acoustic, or sneaking the this
Yeah.
on the album, is that gateway to be like, hey guys, like I do this and this is really cool, but I also really enjoy this. So I
Mhm.
hope you can enjoy both parts of that. And I think the more outward an artist can be about it, like, hey, I'm doing this, or posting an acoustic version of their EDM song, like, will be like, hey, we have more skills than just making trap music, just making dubstep. But like, speaking of like growing as an artist, since you guys do, predominantly do a lot of stuff for underground, for artists for the first times, how do you like to be approached when someone is looking for support on a track, or looking for support from you guys in general?
I definitely like to see support given back, like you're listening to our mixes, you're engaging with our artists that we feature. It's nice to see that, oh, XYZ is like that's why we always try and like make sure our set lists are on our mixes, and like we try and highlight the artist that the artist is highlighting, because that's what it's about, because we find artists that they put in their set list, and we start looking at them and we're like, oh wow, we want you to be featured onto our stuff. So we just like the regurgitating support,
Yeah,
and just
absolutely.
I think that goes a long way, like saying hi to us versus like just reaching out for music, like
Mm-hmm.
just reaching out for coverage. Like we're people too, like we you can contact us, you can contact any of our team and just like get to know us more,
Yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
it's definitely about building the connection so we can build up together, rather than just like a
Because it is like
business interaction,
yeah, because the industry is all in like networking at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So it's like if I see an email that's from a name I don't know, or an email from a guy that like interacts with me on Twitter every single day, I'm probably more likely to open the email from the other guy. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it just is what it is. Like it's not even. I think it's just like kind of playing the game. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah, it
working
really is.
essential.
definitely. And it's like, I feel like there's just so many puzzle pieces to being like an artist, especially when you're just getting started and you're doing it all like all your own. You've got the
Mhm.
master spreadsheet with the DJ's names for the promos, and the blog names and the YouTube names, and like all of that stuff. And it's just such a grind to get to a place where you have like a team working for you. Like you guys have a team now. It's such like a feat. And like, how Trillvo started, like how did Trillvo start? Like how did it even come about?
So back in the day, it got founded back in like 2016, 2017 by Rachel Harvey.
Okay.
She worked out
Yep.
in Houston. She worked out in Stereo Live, and she was and they were just working. She was working out there. She made it, and she introduced this blog, and she started wanting to throw shows, focusing on interviewing artists. And I joined in about 2017, and we just grew together. Andrew joined the
Awesome.
team too during the Lit Lord show or the Skelism show.
It was like right before because Lit Lords was our first one, so it was like
Yeah, but and
right
then he did an
before
interview
the interview with
before
Part Native, I think. But I
Part
don't
Native. Yeah,
Oh,
no
sick.
longer a group. Yeah.
Yeah, I
yeah, no
know.
longer a group, but yeah. Um, and then we like me and him, we just kept growing. We grew the team. Like we did our own branded shows around. We had our own pool parties. We made a name for ourselves. We kept going out into festivals and stuff like that. Then after a while, Rachel decided it wasn't for her anymore. She passed it along to us, and we have been taking care of it ever since.
Yes, you
And
have.
we're kind of not essentially like rebranding, but just like putting a new face to it, because it is a different owner now. Like I
Mhm.
own the company now, and I'm just kind of still keeping the good, like the traditions of it, because that's why I love Trillvo. Like I loved
Yeah.
what it stood for, like the underground, like that Houston vibe, that Southern hospitality.
Yes.
That's what I really love about Trillvo, and I love the colors too. Purple is like my shit. Purple, like pink and shit.
Yes. You
Yeah,
always have to
yeah,
have colors. As you can see my room, like you always have
Yeah.
to have colors that like you fuck with. I feel like that's so important too. It's like when you create like a brand and like a vision, like you have to have like all of these things in mind that like stimulate like the five senses that humans have, because it's like it's all how people like remember you. And that's
yeah,
like when I talk to
Mhm.
like artists, it's like, hey, like you should have like an icon and like a color board and like stuff, because the more like graphic representation that can enhance your sound, like the better it's going to come across cohesively. And
yeah.
that's fucking dope. I knew it was started, you know, just a while ago, but I never knew it was kind of like women owned all the way through, which is pretty badass. Like that's I
Yeah,
have
that's what
to
I was gonna
say.
say. So like, what's also important for us is like doing like, okay, because like it's Women's Month right now, you
Yeah,
know.
I was about to go into that. So
Once,
please
yeah, like
talk. Tell us
once
about what you guys
we
do.
do like our women's empowerment thing, because like Ray Trill, the owner, you know, she actually started as a bottle service girl because she was gonna work at the club and like that's all they would hire her as. They're like, oh
No
well, you're
way.
like we can hire you as a bottle service girl, but like she wanted to do like A&R stuff or like help backstage and all that. So like as she started like doing the bottle service thing, she started getting these relationships with the artists and
Yeah.
building that, and then that turned into where they started letting her throw her own shows at the venue because she had such good relations with these underground artists that would sell, and like she was able to bring them in, and so like going off just the back of that and like making it coming from that, I think, and just making it into like owning a fucking thing. It's always been important to have like that aspect, to give back to that aspect of like
Yeah.
empowering women that like, yeah, you can definitely be more than just like the bottle service girl.
Yeah, she
Oh
she
yeah.
grinded her way
Mhm.
like to like get the Trillvo name out there for a while. Like I barely knew about it, and my homie I was a raver like
Yeah.
before I was, in Trillvo. I like was in photography and all that stuff, but then my homeboy, he was like, "Hey, you should like meet my friend Rachel. She's like she does this blog and all this stuff." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm interested." And then one time she was like, "Hey, I need a videographer for this like our biggest interview ever." So that was the first time I ever met Ray. I hopped in her car and we drove to Dallas to interview Yuki at Lizard Lounge.
Oh,
And like we've
cool.
been essentially inseparable ever since.
I love
And
it.
it's just crazy to like hear about like her just being put as like a bottle girl, and like she
Yeah.
grinded her way to like make a name for herself and
It's crazy because I
create
feel
this
like
company.
most venues I go to now, like their artist hospitality are women, and it's like it's really cool because I feel like there's been this shift, and I really want to confidently say there's been more focus on women artists, women A&Rs, women blog writers, photographers in the last year than I've seen in a very long, like
That's
ever.
what we were talking about because we were like, dang, like everyone's doing Women's Month this year. We are like,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're doing it hard, which is great.
they're
Everyone's
still
like,
doing
across
it.
every
yeah.
industry too. Like it's, I
Hmm.
love it. Yeah, but I
It's
hadn't seen it
great.
like
I
before this year. I don't think like so heavy, you know?
Yeah, I just think like there's just a perspective that women bring sometimes that is can really help a full picture be developed. And like from the artist side, it's just so great to see these bigger players pushing for women. And like I think now the next kind of focus, and like I was talking to Tsunami about this, is like making sure that the women we're pushing for represent all cultures and all races, because
Hmm.
it's like something that a lot of people don't really talk about. And it's like now that we've made it this far, we should push like even further. And I really feel like the day is coming where you can count more than 10 girl names on a lineup. You can count
Absolutely.
Oh,
more than X, Y,
easy.
and Z. And I swear to God, like we're just gonna record this clip. I'm gonna keep it. I will bet $100 to both of you that there are more than 10 girls on the Lost Land lineup. I
Oh,
Oh,
will bet it.
yeah,
I will
I
bet
will
it.
bet it too.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. No, I think 10.
No,
Like
I
I think
think 10 more,
I'm
10
like
plus.
thinking about the list. I'm thinking about the people on UTA already. I'm thinking about the people who I know he'll bring already. Like I would say there's gonna be at least 10 girls. And like that's huge. And even today, like proximity just, and it's not just in bass music, you know what I'm saying? Like I guess bass music is, it's kind of been on like the back end of women, but like even in like house music and stuff now too,
Yeah, that
and
proximity
trap,
lineup.
you
Yeah.
know, the proximity lineup, I'm just like, dude, and like half of these are all like newer artists. Like you have the
Mhm.
Dons, don't get me wrong, you've got them, Nina Las Vegas, Toki Monster, Nora and Pure, like
Yeah.
all those girls, but then you have like Rossi and Pauline Hare and Tsunami and like all
Mhm.
of these girls that we're all just kind of in the same boat, and we're like rising, and people are really paying attention to us, and it's great because I really feel like people are respecting us for what we are, because especially during this time, I think the aspect of like, hey, I'm a girl, I'm just going to post a selfie, get some likes, do whatever, and just take the easy road, that's not acceptable anymore.
That's
Like,
that's sometimes kind of frowned upon now
yeah.
because it's like you're just using your looks to do XYZ.
And
Like
it's easy to do
it's
that as a
weird.
woman. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's easy to do that. It's easy as fuck to pull that card. But
Yeah.
these girls are actually putting in the work, and they're reaping the benefits of it. And I think the women who aren't going to put in the work are going to be very, very upset with how the next year to 2 years are going to look, because
Yeah.
these girls are coming, you know, and they're
Mhm.
making great music, and they're actually making it, you know. It's just really nice to see this be put on a platform, and like Pauline just got a release on Slander's label, and you watch
Yes.
Tsunami on Bitbird, and you know, it's really awesome. And I think the future, not only for artists but also in blogs as photographers, is really, really bright for women. And you guys are even doing a stream this month, correct? I know
Mhm.
you have Sarah on
Saturday.
there, and
Yeah.
Saturday. Okay,
Saturday,
okay.
yes.
It's
Before
on
like the
Twitch.
live stream, we're doing a women's empowerment panel. So we have like
Yes.
four like the best women like in the game like on
Yes.
to be
So
on.
Yes,
who do
it's
you
on
have?
Twitch. This Saturday we have Chloe Sweet. She
Okay.
does she works with Wakan
Yep.
Sostan, Liquid Stranger. We have Jordan Mafi from
Yes. Beatport.
Beatport.
Yeah.
Yes,
I know Jordan.
curation
Yeah.
manager. We have Nina Travers. She works with Nightbase,
Yep.
and she's like a PR guru, I swear to God.
Yeah.
And we also have Maria Southgate. She is the
Yes. Never say
marketing
die.
manager. Yes, never
Yeah.
say die.
Yeah.
So
We
it's just
love
a
her.
panel full of just like powerful women. Like I'm so excited to have like them on, and it's gonna be live. So like we're gonna do live Q&A with them too.
Yes.
So like
I
Yeah.
will
we're gonna
be there. I
that
will
part.
definitely be
Yes.
there.
I'm
I'm
already
so
like
like ready to get so much
nervous.
soak in all that info from them. It's gonna be. I'm just excited and
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm excited and nervous just because I'm like, oh my God, I'm talking to some HBICs right now. Like, let's fucking
Yes.
go. I'm ready.
And
I'm
isn't
ready.
it crazy how you see all of these labels just trust women to like run them? Like
Yeah.
low key,
Absolutely.
like you look at Maria, like you look at Beatport, you know, you look at all of that stuff, and it's
Yeah.
just, it's really cool. And I think we're
I
only
think
gonna see
Jordan helped
more
with
of it.
Cyclops too. Oh, sorry.
Wait, what'd you say? Sorry, no.
I think Jordan helped with Cyclops
Yeah,
too.
she helps with PR
Yeah.
for Cyclops too.
Yeah. I
Maria
didn't mean to
is like a
interrupt you,
one
Liz.
woman show.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's awesome though, and it's just like women who really love their job, and they've been given a chance to be good at it, and every
Hmm.
woman should be given a chance to be good at it.
Yeah.
And
My experience working with women is y'all are way more focused than y'all get shit done. Like I don't need to bullshit and like check in on people, like micromanage. Like that's what I like. Like I prefer working with women because they just like they have the clear path of how they want to achieve stuff. You know,
we do.
like
I have
Don't
to
get me
say.
wrong, I'm very indecisive at times, but we get it done.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just feel like it's just different. Like men and women are just, they're built differently. Like their genetics and like just the way that their brain, like, and you know, to each their own. Everybody has their pros and cons, but I don't think I've ever met like a woman who like can't get it done if she really wants to get it done. You know,
I
she's
feel
like,
that.
especially in this industry, because we've all had to fight for it, so we're really fucking good at what we do and what we
yeah.
try and
Hmm.
And
do.
if you're
And
motivated, you know how like y'all know how to get that. Like, there's a lane, and you can take it. You can get it done. You know, like it's
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, for sure. So
Yeah, I'm excited for this weekend.
that's
It'll be
very
fun.
exciting. I will definitely be there because I know I have quite a few friends playing the live stream, so I'll be in the chat supporting. Um, for the future of Trovo, like, are you guys just like pumped to get shows back going? Like, do you have any other plans with the label? Like, anything you're just kind of like holding on to for everything to open back up for?
I'm ready for my team to grow a little bit more. We definitely want to do a little bit more hiring, kind of get back to a nice comfortable number, so that way when festivals are ready to open up for media, we have we have our team members there. We want I want team members at every festival that we can get our
Yeah.
hands on. And some things I have in mind are just more merch and
Yes.
merch in general. Like I want to do a nice LE kind of merch thing, just be very exclusive kind of stuff, Trillvo
There's no
exclusive stuff.
reason why you can't do limited drops, like super cool stuff.
Yeah.
I wish EDM artists focused on that more, because it's such a lane that bands and
Mhm.
most bands, pop stars really focus on their merch. Like merch is
Mhm.
one of the most direct ways that you can receive income to dump back into your
Absolutely.
project. And there's so many different things you can do now, and it's just create a line for yourself,
Yeah,
like a
we have
Trillvo line
these
where it's
really
like a lifestyle.
we have these
Yes.
really dope little
Trillvo,
pins.
the
That's
makeup
super
thing.
sick.
The little makeup pin. Yeah, it's really tight, and we only made 35 of these, so
The
it's
limited drops are
really
where it's
tight.
at, because everybody
Yeah.
wants to get on it. They're like, I don't know if it's still gonna be there. Da, 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 da. But that's super, super sick. And I feel like if you guys did that, especially if you have your own booth eventually at a festival, you're able to sell that
Mhm.
merch, do X, Y, and Z. It's like the profit long term is just endless, like sky high,
Absolutely.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
we
oh my
No,
bad.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I have some other little news I haven't really announced yet.
Yes, tell me, tell me, tell me.
But, I'm gonna start doing artist management. So there's this artist here in
Hell
Houston named
yes.
Sola,
Okay.
and I'll start managing him. We're gonna be putting out a track next month. That's gonna be
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, get the focus back on the label, and starting off with
Yes.
that is going to be real cool, yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe some shows in the works. I don't know.
yeah.
I
I
would
don't
love
know
to
if you
do
want
that.
to preview unreleased or not. I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah, do it. Honestly, if you want to preview it, I would love to end on that note so I can get to my lesson. And yeah, no, please do it, because I feel like a lot of even Electric Hawk too, they do have a roster of artists, which is really cool, and it feeds into their label. So it's kind of
Mhm.
like this double-edged sword that's building you guys up, but also building the artists up on the platform you've
Absolutely.
already, you know, uh initiated.
Perfect. Well, yeah.
All
Here, let
right.
me see if I can share
Yeah.
mine.
Okay, so you should go down to the bottom, choose
Oh,
share
if you have it
screen.
disabled,
Oh, wait. 3, 2, 1. Multiple participants. Go for it.
boom. All right.
Multiple participants. And make sure to
Yeah,
share the
Share sound.
sound.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
yes. We
Yeah. I
love
wrote
Sola.
Zoom
He
calls.
I feel
Yeah.
like I've heard
All
his
right.
name
We've
before.
released a track with him before
That
already.
may be
Yeah,
why,
we
because I've
did.
seen the
Yeah.
picture and I've heard his name before. So
Yeah, he's
Yes.
very good.
play it
Okay.
up, play it up. I'm
We
excited.
stand Sola.
A little preview.
I'm excited to hear what genre this is going
Agave.
I love it.
Look at the follower count. Just oh my god.
I know, it's building. Level 1. I love it. It's so vibey. That's now.
That's all we get.
No. That's awesome. That's very I hate comparing artists to other artists, but it's very flume mixed with some
No,
hybrid
definitely.
feels.
That's
Get
why I tell
get
everyone
a
I'm like,
female
Luke,
vocal on that, some good samples on that. Sound fire. That's so cool. I'm excited to hear what's next from him. Make sure to put me on
yeah,
a promo list, because that's
hell
what
yeah.
I've been really trying
That
to do.
one's gonna be
Get me on
dropping
every
next
playlist.
month though, so
Yes.
We
Okay,
got you.
cool. Maybe we can get an EXO radio mix down the
oh,
line. That would be super sick. I would really enjoy that.
Hell yeah.
But thank you guys very much for coming on, Victoria, Andrew. I greatly appreciate your time. Very excited I know I'm gonna hug both y'all by the end of 2021.
Yes.
It's gonna happen. I'm being optimistic.
Yes.
But yeah, no, definitely. Thank you guys so much for everything you do with Trillvo. I'm gonna link everything below. Make sure to tune into their Women's Appreciation stream and panel on Saturday via their Twitch channel. I'll link that below as well. thank you guys so much for coming on. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you
Thank
guys
you
have a
so
good
much
night.
for having
Thank
us.
you.
Love you both. I'll
Lizzy.
message you guys later. Have a good
All
one.
right.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Gang,
See
gang.
ya. Gang, gang. Bye.